Hello, everyone. This is Rise Up, AAPI Excellence, a podcast devoted to celebrating the experiences, challenges, and success of the AAPI community. I'm your host, Dr. Wang-Wolf. I'm very pleased today to be joined by my guest, Dory Caplin. Dory, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes. Hi, Shawan. Thank you so much for the invitation today. I was very pleased when you extended the invitation to me. And my name is Dory Caplin, and I've been asked to join you today. I always get a little bit of nervous, so you just bear with me a little bit. But I've been actually working in the media, marketing, and advertising space for probably like 2 decades now. And one of my big passions, I think, is children and helping them, get to a better place and to develop themselves. So that's kind of been the passion moving with me the last few years. And as an entrepreneur, I've been in the last 2 to 3 years an ed tech entrepreneur. That's the term that I'm using. And ever since the pandemic, it actually changed a lot of things of what I thought I was going to move forward with. And I guess that's some of the things we'll be talking about today.
Awesome. Very glad and that you are here with us. So,
Thank you.
yeah, so tell us a little bit more about your role being the edtech entrepreneur and how your work in influencing the younger generation.
Sure. Well, I've actually been a media consultant for 2 decades as well, and I worked closely with colleges to do put their ads in different media, and both print and digital been my primary background. And then as I went along, I have a daughter now that's 17, and of course, I think your kids influence you when you have children, like you want to help them to become better. So she's actually my inspiration, to help her, have a better future. And so when the pandemic hit, my career was going in one direction, more in the media space. And then I had a friend that I went to college with, and he was in what I'll call the Scrum space and the what's called the agile. And so I kind of deviated to that side. And I said, well, why can't we put our two backgrounds together and create something? So we created a company together called IQ for Agile. And then there's another related organization called Leaf. And what Leaf is doing now is it's using a lot of technology to be able to help kids learn online and to collaborate. Because I think the biggest thing that's happening now through the pandemic is that people feel isolated, and children too. They're used to being, in a communal type of gathering, and that's not happening now. Even my daughter hasn't really gone back to school for a year. She's gone like here and there for like tests and things, but she hasn't been in a whole year in school, and to me, I feel bad for her because I remember when I was 17 that I was very active in school. I was in so many social groups, and there's your school life and your party life and your friend life, and she's very isolated, and she's actually had some anxiety problems. And for me, that's hard to see because I'm a very social person. My husband is a very social person, so it's kind of like, what happened? She's not social, and we're both very social people. So having that so close to home, you want to help your child and help them any way that you can. So when I collaborated with the co-founder, Jeff Burstein, we brought in technology partners that could help us to do that. So we through the last couple months, they've been doing cohorts with teachers and their students and doing a lot of project-based learning. And they're doing phenomenal. It's like you don't really realize the potential that a child has until you see them in action. I'm always surprised at, wow, I didn't know that someone at such a young age could take to that so quickly. So to me, that's been for both of us, the biggest surprise is that children learn very quick. I think they learn faster than adults do. So, hopefully that helps them, because I think the problem now is that we have a future that is changing all the time. Like if you had asked me even like a year ago, did I think that we were going to be in this type of an economy or, the way that we're working now? I'd say no, I had no idea that it would be like this. So I think part of my responsibility as a parent is to help my child adapt to a future that we're not even really certain of. So that's kind of where my passion is right now. And most recently, I joined an organization to promote their product. It's called Moonshot Junior, and they were actually featured in the issue of Inc. magazine
Wow.
for teaching children how to start their own businesses. So being that I'm in the ed tech area, I'm always reading up, on what's the latest, greatest. And I really feel proud of that we're in Florida, because Florida and Miami specifically, there's a big boom for ed tech type of companies. And there's a very big community here. And even the what's recent is Mayor Suarez has been promoting it on Twitter. So in Miami, so many fintech, ed tech, all these large technology companies are coming to Miami. And what's great about that is that if they come here, they have to have that infrastructure to thrive. They have to have the workers that are knowledgeable. They have to have, of course, they have to teach them. They have to upskill people. And that's what's happening now, is that a lot of the foundations are, and the people, the angel investors, they're putting the money so that people can learn and get upskilled. And it's a wonderful thing, because, I think it was a couple of years ago, I saw that Amazon was going to Virginia. And at that time, I saw that George Mason got gifted like millions of dollars to build this IT training, because if you bring a company of that size of an Amazon, you must have the workers that are going to be able to keep that thing going, and building. So you see a wonderful thing. It's nice to see that the relationship, the collaboration between private businesses and big business, and also the education community, because that's what makes the education community keep thriving, is that there's a need, and even in Florida, you can get upskilled in like 6 weeks, actually. I think it is 6 weeks to learn another skill so that you can get a job. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So it's an exciting time to see, all this positivity and everything going in a positive direction.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for sharing your, insights, especially on the connection between the education, especially higher education, and the continuing and professional studies, and how it helped, how the connection with the workforce and employment needs shape the possible future of higher ed. Yeah. So how, I'm just curious how your identity of being an part of the Asian community sort of shape your, or influence your career journey.
Oh, well, that's a good question. I think probably, that's your background too, that education, if you're coming from a traditional Asian family, education is like number one, right? At least it was, in my background. I mean, that was so important. And I was thinking before the podcast, I was thinking about my own parents, because my own parents were both from the Philippines. They came here, and I think a lot of the Filipinos that immigrated here are from the medical community. So my father was trying to become a doctor, and he eventually became a gynecologist, obstetrician. My mother in the Philippines, she was like the top of her class as a med tech. And so they both immigrated here to the United States, and that gave them a very good opportunity to get ahead in life. And I mean, they had a very successful practice. My father was, he had his own practice, and at one point he was like the chief of staff of the hospital he was working for. And so we had a very nice life. I mean, we didn't really have to struggle. And that's all because of my parents. When I think of everything that they sacrificed to come here and to start, when you're Asian families are very, at least Filipinos, they're very close in family. So when you're saying that you're leaving your family to come to a new country and, try and build a life there, that's a big step. So I always appreciate that they took that risk and, what they had to go through to do that. And they paved the ground for me, because never have I had, I think most of my life I've been going to Catholic school. So, when you go to Catholic school, you know, most of them have very good curriculum. So I was always, I was never in a disadvantaged situation. So, and that carried through my whole life. Even when I graduated from Barry University in both my undergrad and my graduate degree in MBA. And even, I mean, that work ethic, it's work ethic and it's education together, because even though my parents could afford to put me through college, most of my college, I had like 3 scholarships at one time. So I had to maintain a high GPA, and just because I wanted to have my own spending money, I usually had 2 or 3 part-time jobs at the same time. So it was like I was going to school, I was active, I was in I think my senior year, I was the American Marketing Association president for the club on college campus. So for me, it was like all about trying to advance yourself, trying to prepare yourself for your future. So, and then I was very fortunate to have mentors too. So, you try and do everything because you want to do better for yourself. And you also want to do, I think when you become a parent, you want to do better, to be an example, and also to pave the way for your children so that they can have a better future than you have.
Yeah, it's exactly the same for, I mean, Chinese communities as well. The parents or grandparents sacrifice, and then they want, you know, um, their children or grandchildren to have a better future. And I remember from, because I'm originally from China, and um, from my childhood, I remember, because I didn't grow up with a lot of, abundance of, whatever's. And I remember usually during the New Year's time, you have a, very good meal and a lot of new clothes. And, the parents really don't spend a lot of money otherwise. And then they spend it on the children. Everything they save for the children. And it's just that kind of a, like you said, the work ethic and the care for the family really is utmost and the most important, yeah, for the Chinese community as well.
That's good.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, so earlier you mentioned, the company that you co-founded focuses on the helping the K through 12 schools and, teachers upskilling, reskilling, and, helping the students in terms of the field of project-based learning. Would you like to provide some examples on the different kinds of projects that they ventured into or completed?
Well, right now, actually, the focus is more on the teachers themselves. They've been doing. I don't know if we have a lot of people here that are on the LinkedIn, but I endorse them. One is named Jessica, and she's a teacher that's here in Florida. I can't remember if she's in the Miami area, but or the Fort Lauderdale area. But she's been doing various projects. Some have been about what do you call, like museums or the history and whatnot. And basically, the teacher doesn't so much direct as help to guide. So we're going to be in the process of putting out some case studies for that. So I kind of don't want to give that away, but it's okay. It's kind of based on, I don't know if anyone has heard the term Kanban before, but it's part of a technology, or it's something that's used in agile, because there's a lot of different offshoots of it, but it helps them in the project because it's an online type of thing. It can also be done, in person, but it gives them, kind of, when you're doing project work, you have to have like the goal and the steps to do it, and then when you can consider it done. So when you use a tool like that, it really makes you focus. Okay, so what do I need to accomplish? What's the end result? And then how am I going to go into those different steps? And then how can I apply it to, say, I want to learn about the Civil War. So how can we do it and apply that, and then use the technology tool to help us accomplish that? So once we have the case studies, we'll be posting it on our website, probably the Leaf website. But I think what's kind of surprised me was that not a lot of people in the education community have ever heard of agile. That's the starting point. So many times, like I ask, do you know what agility is or scrum is? And you'd be surprised, people that are in education for 20, 30 years, they've never ever heard of it before, So it's I kind of have to start from the beginning. It's like, well, here's how it came. It came from the software development and stuff. And then I was also amazed to see there's a community of people that really know, what agile is and are very much into it and developing things. I have a colleague named Heather Co-op, and she's been doing it for many, many years. And and so I follow her and I touch base with her, and I mean, it's nice to talk to someone that has actually done it, before, because I'm not a teacher, I'm just I'm marketing is my background. But with her, when she's actually done it in a classroom setting and seen the application of it. So when I hear her talk, I just love hearing her talk because it's a new way of teaching, I would say. And then I've also worked with Hannah Siddiqui. She's more in the collegiate space, and it's amazing when you hear the things that are happening and how more people now are more aware than a year ago of what agility is. So I'm very happy about that, but it's still, for the most part, not well known. So I think part of the mission is for people to know about that and to integrate it into their lives, because as it's been shown, like this whole year, we've had to learn how to pivot. And that's a hashtag that I use, is learning to pivot. Because the thing is that when the thing is, in life, you think you're going one way and then something comes up and you have to like stop and kind of say, okay, I need to reset, And so that's, I think, what most people have learned. And you can't let it stop you. You just have to learn, okay, let me just take a minute, and then take your minute and say, okay, so now how do I do a workaround, or how do I move forward, but in a different way? So, I think the one good thing that has been a result of the pandemic is that it's made us realize that, we can't think in one way. You have to be open-minded. You have to be open to different options, and you'll find the one that's for you. Maybe it's not the same thing that someone wants for you, but you'll find your way. So that's kind of been my new perspective going forward.
That's wonderful because, really with the machine learning, automation, and everything going on, in the tech field, and how it impacts in our daily lives, learning or being able
Mhm.
to pivot is really, like essential skills for surviving.
It
um,
definitely is.
yeah. So I'm curious also want to know, get your opinion on is what's your suggestions or advice for, younger generations, especially, those within our AAPI community who want to venture into the marketing field, and what's your suggestions for them?
Oh, well, thank you. That's a good. Well, I think that you don't know until you try something. And I always tell my daughter, because she's very timid, she's very shy. And I said, well, you're not going to know unless you try it. It's a new experience for you. And here's the good thing. If it's not suited for you, that's okay. But at least you said, I tried it, and so it's very interesting for her, because in me trying to help her get over her awkwardness and her shyness and anxiety, I met another teacher who, she's no longer in the teaching field. She does tutoring and that, but she created a internship for my daughter to be part of. And I think that was wonderful, because my daughter right now, she's studying to be like in the graphic design track. So she's learning, how to build, artwork and things like that. And so she's going to be learning how to do Canva. You mentioned, we were talking earlier, and so she's going to be learning to do that, because it's not part of the curriculum of like what a graphic designer learns, but it's, of course, it's what a lot of people, do their own marketing and build things with. So I'm very excited for that, because if she can learn that, in addition to the other skills, then she might be able to have a job, even before she graduates next year. So I have a digital marketing firm, and I'm always looking for good graphic artists. So, for me, I'm like, oh, that would be good if you could learn that. Then I have someone that she can learn and then maybe work for someone else, or she could still do projects with me. So I always think that you should before you say no or you don't like it, try it, because if it doesn't suit you, that's okay. There's so many things in the world that are out there that you won't know until it's like trying a new flavor or a new food. If you don't try it, you're never going to know. That would be my, and then the thing is, if when what you call to mind marketing, how I knew that I didn't want to follow in my parents' footsteps is that I worked for my father in summers in his office, and then one day I fainted, Sean, and I fainted, and I told my dad after the fainting, I said, you know what, this is not for me. I said, I'm glad that I learned at such a young age, because I saved you a lot of money putting me to college for to become a doctor. so and the thing that I always thought about marketing is I thought you have to do sales to do marketing, and that's not true. I mean, you can be marketing, you can be sales. I tend to be both because I've done sales and marketing, but there's different aspects of marketing. There's marketing research. There's right now, like data research is so important. And I think of that as an offshoot. And that's one of the most in-demand jobs right now is data research, being a data analyst. Like if you have that, if you can do that, you're going to never be out of a job in the next decade, because everything is all about data right now. And people don't realize the correlation that data has with marketing, but it's we can find out anything about anybody, because of of our smartphones. We can target specific segments. If we wanted to do an ad campaign, for example, that said, let's target this age group, ages like 20 to 22, young adults, females, someone that has the best has a good credit record, we can do that. And that's very, you're not losing marketing dollars that way, because you're being so precise. And a lot of people aren't even aware that we can do that. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Is that a specific technique often used in marketing?
Oh, well, the one that I use is called addressable geofencing. So it allows you to precisely, it's actually done for the residents. There's regular geofencing that is a location based, and you can pretty much anywhere, as long as people have to have a smartphone, they have to have their GPS location on, and you can pretty much target the IDs of any phone anywhere.
Wow, that sounds a little scary, to be honest.
Well, it is. It is. And I know there's been some commercials, and of course there's the other side of it, the GDPR and Consumer Protection Act. But people don't realize it. But when you download an app, you're agreeing to having all your information at their disposal. And I tell, like, I've actually been on LinkedIn where people have called me a Nazi, because they're like, I was talking about geofencing, and they said, oh, you're a Nazi. And so I said, let me ask you a question. Have you downloaded apps on your phone? Do you have a smartphone, and have you downloaded apps? And if they say yes, I say, so do you read the fine print when you do that? So when you allow yourself to do that, you're allowing them access to your information. So how can you call somebody that derogatory term when you've agreed to it? If you don't want people to follow you, then shut off your GPS location or don't download the app. Because it's one thing to say, okay, that's not right, but then if you know that that's when you download an app that you're allowing them to have access and privy to your information, then don't download the app. So with the other thing that people look at is, if we didn't have that means to advertise, we would probably have to pay a lot of money just to be able to access the internet. That's the other side that people don't realize, is that we can go to the internet for free, but if all that came away and we were so highly regulated, we might have to pay fees on top of fees to be able to do what we do and download apps and things. So when you think of the whole ecosystem, you can't just think of it on one side. You have to think of the pros and the cons with it.
Exactly. That's good suggestion. And then for our audience who would like to venture into the marketing all sales world, feel free to connect with Dory. And Dory, how would you like to be connected with our audience?
Oh, well, I think LinkedIn is probably the best method. I'm on by if you go to LinkedIn and you type in DORY and then CAPLIN, then you'll see my profile pop up, and then you're always welcome to connect with me that way. And then I know some people would rather do it that way than call me directly, but I actually have my phone and my an email account that they can contact with me on my profile as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us today. Again, this is Rise Up AAPI Excellence. I'm your host, Dr. Wang-Wolf, and you're welcome to connect with me via LinkedIn as well. And stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the invitation, Siobhan.
Thank you, Dory.
Thanks.